are two types of mace, or specific enchantments for your mace. You have Density 5 and Breach 4. Density 5 amplifies the damage by the blocks fallen downwards, and that increases the number of blocks you go up. Usually you put Wind Burst 1 to 3 on your Density mace, as that boosts you up into the air after performing a mace crit, allowing you to deal more damage. Breach 4 mace will reduce the armor effectiveness by 60%. So if, say, Netherite armor gave 10 armor effectiveness altogether, the armor effectiveness that applied to the mace hit would only be 4. So to perform a mace hit, you must be at least 1.5 blocks above your opponent, and obviously in the game, wind charges boost you up. So what you can do is you can right-click with the wind charge down, and then hit with the mace. And as you can see, I have Wind Burst 3, so I went up again. Now, to increase the height, instead of just doing this and only going a couple blocks, you can press the jump and wind charge button at the same time, and that will send you up a whole 10 blocks into the sky. And then hit with the mace, looks something like that. Now, there is a game mechanic called attribute swapping, which is where you left click or hit, or whatever your hit keybind is, and with a sword or an axe, and swap to your mace, either breach or density. And this amplifies the damage of the mace. So before, as you could see, I didn't pop the bot when doing the 10 block thing with the wind charge. Now, you do pop your opponent. I'll just show this again, and I missed. You do pop your opponent. And that is how you density swap. Now, breach swapping is a different... One sec. Breach swapping is a different mechanic that allows you to amplify the damage of, again, the sword or axe rather than the mace itself. You can, however, if you perform a mace crit, breach swap. If I just show you that now, and it can pop your opponent. But the mechanic you can do is crit with a sword and swap to breach, which basically gives you the effect of breach 4 onto the sword. So now, whatever your opponent's armor is, it's reduced by 60%, and you're critting with usually a netherite sword for PvP servers. And you just simply crit, you hit and switch to the same time. I usually keep whatever I'm using. So if I'm wanting to density swap, I'll put density and usually axe for stun slams in here, and vice versa. But yeah, that's all you do. And you can, if you have a laptop rather than a PC with larger buttons, you can just, like that, smoothly brush between the two keys, which allows you to use one finger to hit, and then you can do that, which allows you to swap back to the sword and perform another crit. And then I popped him much faster than I would have done with a regular sword. Now, there is also, and that's just regular mace. Ender pearls in Mace PvP are very useful because they allow you to increase your distance. And how you may ask that works is because ender pearls travel slower than a wind charge, and a wind charge, when it hits an ender pearl, will collide with it, causing you to go to that ender pearl. You can look up, fire an ender pearl, and then a wind charge, and they will collide with each other, and you can just repeat this if you wish. I will have to say, sometimes you will miss it because the hitboxes of a pearl obviously goes down, whereas a wind charge stays concentrated forwards, I guess. And then many people discovered that using an elytra also works with the mace. But if I show you, you can't actually perform a crit whilst gliding. That's because it's in creative mode. So what you have to do is swap to the elytra to glide towards your opponent, and then swap back to the chest plate before hitting with the mace. And that looks like this. If I got out of creative mode. And you can just keep gliding and wind bursting forever. And this allows you to keep flying consistently. Now, obviously, you can mix that with the density swapping and the breach swapping in order to do more damage. Usually, if your opponent doesn't have a shield, you want to use a sword instead of an axe, because the sword has a lower crit time and a higher damage that's not a crit. And you actually want to do this quite quickly, since it has to be that quick in order to be able to hit with the maximum amount of efficiency. Another thing you can do is combine both the wind charge jump up with the pearl wind charge, or the pearl catch, to increase your height massively above your opponent. And obviously, this can be combined with elytra macing to do lots of damage. Now, the problem is shields. They block all mace hits from... Oh, I did not mean to drop that. From all damage. So what you can do is perform a stun slam. This technique is very difficult to do, but once you master it, it comes quite naturally. What you do is you break the shield or disable the shield with the axe, and then hit with the mace to perform the mace crit. Now this bot has auto totem turned on, so it won't pick up a shield and hold it for me. But all you need to do is either side mouse button that's also bound to hit, or you can just double click or spam click. Usually spam clicking works. Is you want to hit once with the axe, then hit again with the mace instantly, and you should hit 2 hits like that. Obviously, this can become quite an easy thing to do. I didn't do it there because it can get mixed up with the density swapping, so you have to kind of get used to the feeling of stun slamming. Once you do get it, it's very good to use against people who like to spam shields. Another way to counter the shield is to elytra glide behind your opponent as they stare directly at you, like that, and then hit them with the mace as you're behind them, because the shield only blocks attacks from the front and parts of the side. You can also do this, it's called backstabbing, by just simply doing that. They think you're going to hit there, and then you turn around and hit them in the back with the mace. This also obviously works with the elytra, as I just said, but it's quite hard to perform quickly, and also quite hard to get the timing mechanics spot on. As you can see, I'm having some trouble with this, but there we go, I hit one. Now you can combine all of these on, like, MC PvP doesn't have firework rockets in the regular mace kit, but elytra macing with firework rockets is a lot faster and more efficient than just using wind charges and pearls. And what you can do is, if you equip your elytra, you can fly much faster around your opponent, and then you can elytra mace down by rocketing down, because the rocket makes you faster. It's harder for your opponent to keep up. with what you've done. Obviously, this can be combined with just regular macing to begin with, like so. Or it can be combined with attribute swapping, or even stun slams. I can't personally do it with a stun slam and elytra macing. I can only do stun slams whilst doing that. But you can stun slam and then elytra mace, and then even hit them out the air in some cases. You can also use the backstabbing technique like I did then with the elytra mace, and that worked very well. As you saw then, sometimes when you hit, I think it's when you hit and land at the exact same time, you'll actually sustain the elytra charge with the firework rocket, allowing you to equip your elytra again and then attack once more. Which is quite hard to do, and it doesn't happen often. But there you see, you can equip it again without having to use another rocket. As you can see, the mace is quite broken, especially with Density 5 and Wind Burst. Density 5 and Wind Burst 3. There we go. That was the extra charge on the elytra. But yeah, that's pretty much all I know for Mace PvP. However, I will tell you something that I found out. Many people will do a certain thing where they throw a pearl and then throw a wind charge under it. I've only ever hit this a couple times actually PvPing. It's quite hard for me to do. Or quite hard for pretty much everybody to do, because it requires perfect timing and placement above your opponent, and obviously the pearl is kind of a random thing, so you kind of need to time it absolutely perfectly before you get it. I'll try to get one on the video, but if it doesn't, yeah, it's not going to work. But what I found out is that this also works at the ground. So if I look to this side, or that side now because I broke the block, and do really quickly a pearl then wind charge, it actually launches you up at the same time, and it allows you to catch your opponent off guard quite quickly. Now, I will say this does use up a lot of pearls, and if you do it wrong, it will blast your opponent up like that. But it's quite a cool mechanic that I found. But yeah, that is my guide to elytra macing. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you can go watch some of my other videos on my Minecraft PvP kits and the ways of using them. Thank you very much for watching this video, and goodbye.